Hello and welcome to an update of the To Fluff or Not to Fluff experiment. We'll start off our update with the To Fluff bin, and then according to what I find in here, I will probably have to sort of adjust what I'm doing in the bin that is not being fluffed. So this is the area that we fed, and we're going to go clockwise, but I'd like to see how the material feels. It feels nice and moist. And actually the bottom has a lot more moisture than the top, which, if of course you leave the bin alone and you do not turn over the material slightly, that means that the bottom will remain very moist while the top may dry out. And some people actually overcompensate. They feel that the material is drying out, and they will put water to keep everything moist on top, not realizing that the bottom is getting really soggy. So the worms are looking good. So let's see what they did with the feeding. Very wet feeding. Nice big guys here. Okay, so that means that we are going to feed in this area right here. Going to be pulling back the material. And what I've done is I've just taken an apple, cut it in half. So each bin is going to get half an apple. That's pretty even. And a little bit of eggshell. And we're going to cover that up. It's going to take a while for this to break down. My experience has been, even if the apple is frozen and thawed, it takes at least several weeks for it to break down. And this one is neither frozen, nor is it super duper rotten. It's just not the best apple that we had. So interesting. These are cocoons. They were laid here recently. How wonderful. So they're already reproducing. Okay, so we'll leave this bin alone and now go over to the bin that we're not going to fluff up. Here's our second bin. And let's see how these guys are doing. I'm just going to check and see to make sure they're happy and they're not climbing, which looks like they're not. And this is the area where we fed. I'm just going to take a quick peek at all the corners and the overall condition of the bin since we're not fluffing anything up. This is where we fed, so we're going to go into that corner. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull back the material, and I'm going to put half of the apple in there. Again, give it some grit for the worms and just cover it up. Try not to breathe the powdered eggshell in, and then we're just going to mark that corner. That's all we're doing. You can see a little sprout growing in here, but hopefully it's not going to get too wet at the bottom. I am a fluffer. All my systems, I have about, I think 27, 28, I lost count, but I do like to turn the material over. Now I know that the worms do tunnel. They do go traveling through the castings. They go up, they go down, they go sideways, they travel through, and they do aerate the bin to a certain extent. But I find that all my bins do much better when I turn the material over once a week when I feed. Also gives me a chance to really see what condition the bins are in, what conditions the worms are in. So I'm not exactly sure about the people who don't turn their material over. I can't say whether that's, you know, good or bad. I've never done that. This is the first bin that I'm not turning over. So I'll let you know what I find and if I like it or not. But all my bins I do turn over, and I really like the material, the consistency that I get with regular fluffing of the material. So that's our update, and we will see how these guys do next week. Thanks for joining me.